Yeah, just do stuff. Just do it. Just do stuff. You know why? You know why many of us fail? You know why many of us fail? One, we don't set goals. Yes, we don't set goals. We have no intention. We don't see our end goal in sight before we set out on a journey. Imagine you're trying to drive somewhere and you can't even visualize where you're going before you leave. Of course, you have that in your mind. You set your sat nav and then you follow the route. But most of us just go on about our lives without having a goal in place, without having a destination in place, without having a plan in place. We just follow, wake up and just follow, just carry on. So the reason most of us fail is we have no goals. And two, when we set goals, we don't follow through. Why don't we follow through? Because it's easy for us to let ourselves down than to let others down. When we set goals, we don't follow through. We can make excuses to ourselves. No other person knows about it. We don't have to pretend to with the world. It's personal. And so when we set goals to ourselves, we let ourselves down. We don't hold ourselves accountable. For instance, if you arrange to meet your body for training or hit some tennis ball or go to the gym, you're bound to turn up. Why? Because you don't want to let the other person down. But when you say to yourself, I'm going to get up at 6 o'clock, sometimes you don't get up to 8 to 7, but that's okay. Why? Because you just let yourself down. No one knows about it. You can make excuses. Tomorrow I'll get up by 5 and do what I'm meant to have done today. But then you're just pushing it back and you're just letting yourself off the hook. So when we commit to a goal, when we set a goal, we have to follow through. So that's what I'm saying. Just do. When you let yourself down, it does count. Hold yourself accountable. When you set a goal, follow through. Don't worry about failing. Follow through. You should be able to bet on yourself. Hold yourself accountable. Say to yourself, I would hold up my end of the bargain. Don't cash in yourself. Instead, work on yourself. Build your value. It's easier to blame others for not holding up their ends. Oh, you never made it. You never turned up. You're a sucker. But when we do the same, we let ourselves off the hook. We don't hold ourselves accountable. If you can't trust yourself, how can you trust others? And how can others trust you? Most of us lie to ourselves and then we expect others to believe in us. Others to rely on us when we can't even rely on ourselves. Get your goals down on the paper. Make it a contract. Make it binding. Follow through. Write it down. Read it daily, step by step. Fulfill it. Tick out whatever or tick off whatever you've done, whatever you've accomplished. Move to the next one. Let it be a binding contract where you can see it. Put it on paper. Don't rely on all your promises. Don't rely on someone else's promises. Therefore, don't rely on your promise until it's put down on a contract. You wouldn't go into a contract with someone just on voice alone, verbal alone. No, you would have it written. Therefore, if you set a goal for yourself, have it written down. Fulfill this. It's a contract. Carry it out. Everyone wants to point fingers. But remember, when you're pointing fingers at someone, there's 4 pointing back at you. Therefore, hold yourself accountable first before you question other people's intention. Now you've got a choice to sit on the couch and waiting for the world to come to you, or you've got a choice to wake up and take on the world. If you fail, you fail, but I guess what? You learn from your experience. No one's win without failing. For every one victory, there's 100 failures. So get up to fight for your spot. Don't wait for the opportunity to come to you. Probably might never come. Put yourself out there. Advertise yourself. Bet in yourself. Take steps to better your future. rather than waiting for the writing on the wall. Because when the writing on the wall comes, it's probably too late for you to take advantage. The thing you have to remember is the world sees you as you see yourself. That's the truth. The world sees you as you see yourself. If you want to sit around and beg and plead and ask, the world probably tag you a beggar, and they only give you the leftover. Yeah, they only give you the leftover. If you want to go around begging, the world sees you as a beggar. And what does the beggar get? The leftover. What other people have no use for. Focus on your dream. That person you're envying for whatever they've achieved, wherever you think they are, they have their own struggle. You probably never saw the struggle. You just seen the finishing. They probably have years in the bank of going through the process, of struggling, of failures. But now you've seen the finished product and you like it. But do you know how many times they failed? How many times they restarted? How many times they re-strategized? No. But now you're envious of the finished product. You're envious of the result. But you never knew when they were building their credit. You probably started in the same place, in the same area, in the same avenue, in the same house. But they've gone on to build credit. Now they have the result to show for it. And there you're there complaining, moaning, saying life is too fair to them. Everything they turn out turns to gold. The thing I've noticed is like complainers will always find something to complain about. Regardless what it is, they would always find something to complain about. A loser will always find a way to lose, regardless. A taker, someone who never gives, will always continue to take. They look for validation in taking. They never ever want to be contributed. They never ever want to be givers. They're comfortable being takers. When anything pushes them into a position where they could become givers, no, they complain. They retreat back to that victim mode so they could complain and rely on other people to go work, go hustle, and then they could get the leftover. Get out of the victim mode. Get out of the victim mode. Does people often say sorry to you and then move on? Is that how you want to spend the rest of your life? There's a proverb. There's an African proverb that says, a man who is rejected by others can't reject itself. A man who is rejected by others can't reject itself. So by playing victim mode, by living as a victim, you're basically rejecting yourself before others even start. So this is what I'm going to say to you. This is probably the most important thing I'm going to say to you here. So please listen carefully. The reason why you are where you are, the reason why you're not where you want to be, is your fear of failure, your fear of taking action, your fear of doing stuff. That's the only reason why you are where you are today. The fear of criticism, the fear of being seen broke, being seen poor. That's the only reason why you are where you are today. Failure has no size. Failure has no limit. If you're gonna fail, fail. It's better to fail and learn from your experience and remain in the same position for years without nothing to learn. When you fail, you know you've learned and then you could change it, you could move on. But when you sit in the same position for years without trying, you haven't learned anything. You haven't moved forward. In fact, you've moved backward. So the reason most of us are where we are, we're too scared to fail. It's good enough to fail in silence, we think. But to fail out in public, where other people would see us and say, wow, that's our biggest fear. That's our biggest fear. So we'll rather sit in our comfort zone or run back rather than try and fail. Our biggest fear is other people's criticism, not ourselves. No, it's other people's criticism. So take chances. Try your innermost ambition, your innermost skill. Give it a go. If you're gonna fail, fail. Take chances, try, do stuff. Do stuff. You only have your life to live. You're not living your life for any other person. You're living your life for yourself. So if you're gonna fail, fail for yourself. When I tell you this, when you fail, you would have learned a lot from yourself. You have known what you're made of, the kind of person you're made of, the material you're made of. Do what drives you. Do what you have the skills for. Do what you think you could do and grow. Do what you know, regardless of the situation, you wake up and carry on doing, because that's what's going to bring you to light. The thing you walk over and over again, regardless, that's what's going to bring you to light. Do those things you're most afraid of, but you have the passion for, you have the skills for, you have the determination for, you have the consistency to do it. Carry on doing those things. Don't give in to fear. Don't give in to other people's criticism. Don't give in to other people's judgment. Why? Because those people are always going to be there. You know what? When you succeed, those people who are criticizing you are going to be the first to congratulate you. Those people who have put you down are going to be first to say, I know you could have done it. I know I saw it in you. You had it all the time. I said it. So you don't listen to this. You don't let this keep you in your spot. You don't let this drive you down. You don't go to bed. The voice in your head, talk to it, advise it, say to it, I can do this. I am better than this. Let that be, I am better than this. I'm not just repeating it. When you repeat it, you have to believe in it. You have to let it control you. You have to, when you're confident inside, it reflects outside. Don't be confined by your environment. Don't be confined by your upbringing. Don't be confined by your language. Don't be confined because you're poor. Don't be confined by your skin color. Don't be confined by your height. Don't be confined by your size. Be willing to take risk. Be willing to go outside the box. Outside the box. Be willing to give. Be willing to tread where no one in your area, in your environment, in your class has ever tread before. And you'll be surprised to find what's on the other side. I'm telling you, as far as you let your fear keep you back, when you're worried about what people are going to think, before you know you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, you're still in the process of thinking, of figuring out what you're going to be. Why? Because you've put other people's ahead of your own self. You've let what other people think become a burden to you. You've not taken a step. You've not taken a chance. Why? Because your mind has been crowded. What people are going to think. What people are going to say. Don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to take action. Don't be afraid to do stuff. If others are followers, become a student. If others are followers, become a leader. Learn stuff. Try stuff. Practice stuff. Do things no one would ever imagine you would do. Don't let fears hold you back. Don't be kept in your box, locked away. Step outside the box. If you're gonna fail, fail. Life's about ups and downs, roller coaster. Start again. You're not too young to start again. As far as you set a new goal, a new plan, a new intention, a new vision, life will assist you. When you're ready to walk, life will back you up. I'll give you an example. When I played tennis, every match I've always gone into, I've always known there's a possibility of losing. Every competition I've played, I've always known there's a possibility of losing. Sometimes the possibility are bigger than the possibility of winning. But does that stop me? Does that prevent me? No. I go in and I give it my all. That's all you can do. You know, in the face of fears, you go in and you give it your all. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And when I lose, I learn from my failures to build back. And when I win, I learn from my winnings to get better. In everything you set out to do, there is the possibility of failure. And you know what? In life, it's almost impossible to win more than you failed. For every single win, there's 100 failures. From the best people in the world, the best sportsmen, the best business people. I was speaking to this hedge fund manager the other day. A very known well-respected hedge fund managers from the city. And he's told me, before he actually got to where he is today, he started more than 6 different hedge funds, and they've all failed. And today he's known as one of the best hedge fund managers in the city. So by failing in different businesses, he kept on learning. He kept on building experience. And now, all those experiences are coming into play. So if you're going to fail, you would learn from your failure. But don't just sit back. Get out and do stuff. When you get into a place where it's so difficult, just push through. Push through. This is temporary. It will come. That's life. It's only for a matter of time. Like for every dark night, the sun comes in the morning. So just push through, persevere, be consistent. Like so many people out there are living their fears. No, they don't realize this. They're actually living their fears. They're living in fears. And they say like, no, I'm not living in fears. I'm living my life. And I ask you, what is it you're meant to be doing, you're not doing? What is it you've been dreaming about, you're not taking the step to? What is it that drives you, keeps you awake, but you're not able to step out? If you're not doing what drives you, what you can't sleep about, what you think about every day, you are living in fears. You're living scared of failures. You're living because sometimes it's that thing we're scared to do. That's what we're going to be celebrated about. The things you're so scared, like if you take a step, you're going to fail. You could fail a few times. But when you break that barrier of failure, you become successful. And that's what people will celebrate you about. Because no one is celebrated for their failure. You might have failed 10 times, but you'll be celebrated for one thing. And that one thing is what you've been known about. That's why it's good to try, do stuff, regardless of the failures. Do stuff. Everyone, every single human on this planet has some sort of fear, one way or the other. But there are those who break through these fears. There are those who will do regardless of the amount of fear or the amount of fears. There are those who will push through, who will overcome. Those people haven't got more courage than you. No, those people have the same fear as you, sometimes even more. But they're determined to go at this. They would give it their all. Why? Because they rather fail than be stuck where they are. They rather step outside the box and see what's on the other side than be told about it. The thing about life is simple. You must give up something to get something. To buy something, you have to give money for it or credit for it. You can't steal. So to win, you have to fail. To win, you have to do something. Most things are give and take. You have to give to take. You have to give to take. So you have to give up your comfort zone to win. And the lack of courage is not retreating. The lack of courage is failing to do stuff. Failing to take a step. Failing to go against the fear. Failing to go against other people's criticism. Failing to go against the field, even when you know you're 100% correct. That is the lack of courage. They say those who stand by and do nothing. Who stand by and do nothing. That is the lack of courage. Failure is a part of life. Failure is part of life. No one succeeds the first time, or very few succeed the first time. Failure is part of life. For every great person today was a beginner at one point in time, and they failed countless time. But the thing is, no one is celebrating them for those failures. Why? But we're celebrating them today for the success. Failure is a part of life. You will fail sometime. It's part of life, comes with life. You would try different times. Just put that down as your process note, as your struggles. as your refining process, just like a diamond goes from coal to becoming a diamond. Those failures are your process to glory. You're walking towards the best of you. You're finding yourself. You're discovering what makes you, what sets you apart. Failure is a part of life. And how do you break that? You break that by doing. You break that by action. You break that by doing stuff over and over again. Over and over again. The reason most people fail in life is not because they tried. It's because the lack of trying. The fear of failure is making people not do what they ought to do, not try what they ought to try, not giving 100% and sticking to something because they're scared of failing over and over again. So failure, fear stops people from actually even trying, even taking a step. The fear of failure is so huge that most people die with their dream, their goal still inside of them. How sad is that? With all they ever dreamed of inside them, never able to fulfill this for one day. Most people die from this. And the thing you would most be surprised about is, for every successful person that's actually made in life, they've just done the simple thing. They picked something they're good at and they put in the work. They failed over and over again, but they persevered. They carried on. They resisted to sit back. And by doing that, they learned from their mistake. Because once you give up, that's it. If you quit in a tennis match, you have no chance. A tennis match is played point by point. When you quit, that's when it's over. Even at match point, you still have opportunity of coming back and winning. I was watching French Open the other day. Krejcikova, the Czech doubles player, she was match point down in the semi-finals. Match point down in the semi-final to Sakari. And she came back, won that match. She went on to win the French Open singles and doubles. In fact, in the quarterfinals, she was actually set points down to Coco Gauff in the first set. So up to the last point, when you have just one single point to play, you still have a hope. But the minute you give up, that's it. It's over. So I would say you push through. You keep fighting. Regardless of whatever it is, you keep fighting. You never give up. You never give up. You never stop. You keep pushing. But failure only happens when you give up. When you stop, that's when failure occurs. But when you keep pushing, you're still in the process. Failure hasn't arrived, and it would probably never arrive as far as you keep pushing, you keep trying. But when you give up, then you've welcomed fear. So all I'm asking you to do is please just do stuff. Just do stuff. Just keep on doing stuff. Don't stop. Work on your goals, work on your skill, improve on your areas you think you could become the best. Learn from books, learn from people's experience, ask questions. When you're in the presence of greatness, don't speak much, just ask, learn, and listen. Become the best you can in whatever you're trying to do. Work on your skill. I'll tell you how dangerous fear is. When you go into like a tennis match that lasts for 2 hours, when you tense, you're full of fears, your legs begin to shake. You're not able to hit the ball. You can't do the same thing you're doing in practice day after day. You can't hit the ball as hard as you can. Why? Because fear takes over you. Fear limits you. Fear limits your ability. Fear limits your thinking. Fear holds you back. Fear stops you from doing what you know you could do easily, what you could execute so easily. When fear begins to manifest in your life, it drives everything away. It limits everything. When you could hit 100 miles an hour safe, now you're now doing 80 miles an hour. Why? Because you're under fear. You under the influence of fear. You can't control anything. Everything you can do is only limited to what fear allows you to do. Fear paralyzes you. You're able to move your legs. You're able to move your arm. You can't see properly. You can't think properly. That's what fear does to you. You know, when my life changed was at the point when I got to where I stopped listening to what other people say, try not to make mistakes, trying not to limit myself. That was the moment my life changed. When I took decisions, when I did what I knew I could do, when I focused on what I thought my strength was, when I worked on myself, when I refused to believe in what other people said about me. That was the point my life changed. When I actually took action and did stuff, that was when my life changed. When I went outside my box, saw the other side, asked questions, that was when my life changed. When I began to do stuff, my life changed. So there's two things about fears. Is it that you allow fears to drive you into a little corner, cover you with a blanket, feed you, give you his leftover, or you come out and take charge. You drive fear into the corner. You kick it out. If you're not in control of fears, fear will control you. It's just do or don't do. That's just the two things you've got, the two options you've got. Is it that you're doing or you're not doing? So don't let fears take charge of your life. Don't let fears control you. Don't let fears be your boss. You have to be in control. You have to take charge. It is your life after all. It's not the life of any other person. You can't live your life for another person. You have to live your life for you. Do what you know you best at doing. Do what you could work in 100% and continue to work on, regardless. Don't allow fears to make you timid, make you abandon your goal, make you abandon your fight, put you in the corner, cover your blanket and feed you. Don't allow fear, doubt to hold you back. Here are a few ways to go about things. Don't sit down and worry the amount of failures you would encounter or the ones you've encountered in the past, what people are going to say, because worrying about all those wouldn't fix anything. Just wake up, put a plan in place and do things. Follow your plan and do things. Don't worry about the outcome. You know your intention. Follow your intention, put a goal in place and do things. Some things are probably out of your control. You can't fix everything. You just do what you can do and leave the rest. Like God says, do what you can do and leave the rest for me. So just go out there, do the best you can, the best of your ability, give it 100% and just leave the rest. Wherever it's out of your control, it is there out of your control. Do what's within your control. Before you take a journey, just know there's the possibility of failing. Just like I go into a tennis match, or footballers go into a football game, or basketballers, or someone you go into a contract negotiation knowing there's a probability. There's a probability that you probably might not get that contract. You probably might not win that game. Take all that into consideration and still go get it. Go get it. Give it your all. Because that's all you can do. When you've done 100%, that's all you can basically do. But not doing that 100%. Jim Rohn says fear comes from doing less than what we're capable of doing. So every time you do less than 100%, then you're more likely to be worried. Why? Because you know you are basically doing less than 100%. And that's when you worry. When you're giving less than your best, that's when you worry. But if you've given 100% in everything you do, I tell you, you would have no point of worrying. Because winning or failure, you know you've done your best. And from there on, you can only learn from the results. And when I speak to most successful people on Wall Street, on the city, in sports, they tell me a few years ago, or whenever some of our businesses failed, they lost everything. They have to go back and start from scratch, from the beginning. But the thing is, like, they have the process. They've acquired some skill. So it might seem like they're starting from the beginning. No, but they already have some goal in place. They already have some skills in place. So when they come up against failure again, obstacle, they're not so afraid. Why? Because they've experienced failure. They know how it feels. Now all they expect is victory. And if failure comes again, why not? They've taken failures before and they're still alive. So, of course, failure builds you. Failure builds your character. Being stuck in one place, being timid, will never change anything. I think the best way to face fear is to understand the reason for not facing the fears. If you imagine if you go into something, you would fail. Imagine your success, or imagine if you never actually tried that thing, where you would be stuck. If I go into a tennis competition, imagine, I'm going to lose. Then imagine never having a chance to play the competition in the first place pushes me even more to compete harder when I get there. So imagine where you are now, and imagine if you never tried. What would happen? What would happen? Where would you be? How would you live? Will you have fulfilled your dream to yourself? Or would you continue to wallow in self-pity, in lost opportunities, in complaints,